Is this a joke? Did you borrow this card from someone rich? The hotel receptionist scoffed, holding the shimmering black card like it was counterfeit. Marissa didn't flinch. She just looked him straight in the eye, expressionless, but deadly calm. Marissa Holloway stepped out of the black Bentley, her heels clicking sharply against the marble driveway of the exclusive Grand Aurora Hotel in downtown Chicago. The sun glinted off her tailored navy pantsuit. The only accessory more striking than her poise was the platinum pin on her lapel, an insignia of the Holloway Group, a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that bore her name. She was here for a discreet final meeting before greenlighting a $2.8 billion joint development with the Grand Aurora chain, a project that would place luxury eco-resorts in 5 countries over the next 3 years. Months of negotiation, late-night video calls, legal reviews, all came down to this day. One signature, one stay, one handshake. Inside the lobby, the air was cool, scented with sandalwood and success. Crystal chandeliers sparkled above, casting fractured rainbows on the marble floor. Guests in suits and gowns milled about. A pianist played something elegant and expensive in the corner. Marissa approached the check-in desk, placing her sleek leather bag gently on the counter. Reservation under Holloway. Marissa Holloway, she said calmly, with the slight southern lilt that hinted at her Alabama roots. The young man behind the counter, name tag reading Dylan, barely glanced up. He was too busy scanning her. Not her face, not her name, her skin. Yes, ma'am, he said flatly, tapping the keyboard without enthusiasm. After a few seconds, his eyes widened as the system confirmed her reservation, presidential suite. 3 nights, all prepaid. Then came the moment. Marissa reached into her handbag and handed him her American Express Centurion card, the elusive black card. One of the rarest, most exclusive symbols of wealth and status in the financial world. Only issued by invitation. No limit. Dylan took the card, blinked, and, without even trying to hide it, let out a little laugh. Wow. A black card? You don't see that every day, he muttered, still chuckling. Is this really yours? Or did someone forget their wallet? The 2 other front desk staffers heard him and exchanged awkward glances. A businessman in the lobby glanced over too. Marissa's expression didn't change. Dylan noticed and quickly tried to play it off. I mean, sorry. It's just, you don't look like our usual black card holders. There it was. The mask slipped. She gave him a smile. It wasn't warm. Please process the check-in, she said coolly. Still skeptical, Dylan held the card under the light, then tapped at the terminal like he was waiting for it to fail. It didn't. Of course it didn't. The system instantly confirmed it, but Dylan wasn't done. I'll just need to verify your ID. Policy, you know, he added, still smirking, even though no such policy was ever enforced on their usual platinum-haired clientele. Marissa silently handed over her driver's license. He squinted at it, then at her, then back again. Still not satisfied, he excused himself to the back office. Minutes passed. The pianist changed songs. Marissa waited, silent, composed, but with a storm brewing in her mind. Her eyes locked on a canvas hanging behind the desk, a portrait of the hotel's founder. He was shaking hands with her father, 20 years ago, when the Holloways helped fund the very first Grand Aurora. That irony simmered in her chest. Dylan returned, slightly pale. We've processed the payment, Miss Holloway. Your suite is ready. Bellhop will escort you shortly. No apology. Not even a forced one. She nodded, took her card and ID, and pulled out her phone. As she walked toward the elevator, her fingers typed swiftly. Point 1 text T O her legal advisor. Point 4 words. Pause all partnership talks. The elevator doors slid shut, sealing Marissa in silence. Her reflection in the brass panel revealed nothing of the storm beneath her cool surface. She pressed the button for the 38th floor, presidential suite, and let out a slow, measured breath. The suite was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of Chicago's skyline. A grand piano stood silently by the glass wall. On the marble dining table, a handwritten welcome card read, "Welcome, Ms. Holloway. We are honored to host you." She let it sit there untouched. 10 minutes later, there was a knock. A soft voice called out, "Room service. Your welcome bottle of champagne, ma'am." Marissa opened the door. A bellhop stood with a card, eyes lowered, voice respectful. As he wheeled it in, she caught a glimpse of Dylan at the end of the hallway, nervously pacing, pretending not to look. She knew what was coming. The scramble.it didn't take long to be by the time the door closed. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Camille, her assistant back at headquarters. Are you okay? The board got wind you paused the deal. Want me to alert PR? No, Marissa texted back. Not yet. Let them squirm first. Back downstairs, chaos was blooming quietly behind the scenes. Dylan had been pulled aside by the floor supervisor. The moment the charge from Marissa's black card went through and her identity was confirmed in their system as the Holloway, not just a guest, but the Holloway, whispers had started flying. She's the Holloway? As in Holloway Group. Oh my God, she's here about the deal? And Dylan turned white as he tried to compose himself, then made a move no one expected. He rode the elevator up to the 38th floor with a shaky breath and a thin envelope in hand. When Marissa opened the door again, she didn't look surprised. I wanted to apologize, he stammered. I didn't mean to imply. I didn't know who you were. Marissa let the silence stretch. Then she said, That's the problem, isn't it? He froze. I shouldn't have to be someone for you to treat me with basic decency. She took the envelope from his hand, then closed the door without another word. Inside, she opened it, a handwritten note, clearly rushed, read. Sincere apologies for the earlier misunderstanding. It was not our intention to offend. Please enjoy a complimentary spa experience and dinner at our rooftop restaurant. She placed the note next to the welcome card. Two meaningless gestures side by side. Later that evening, the hotel's general manager, a sharply dressed man named Anthony Wells, called her suite phone. She let it ring out. He emailed. She didn't reply. Instead, she opened her notebook and began writing down a list. Each time she had been underestimated in boardrooms. Each time she had been talked over during M&A deals. Each time someone assumed she was from marketing instead of the founder and CEO. She wasn't writing out of anger. She was documenting. Because this story wasn't new. It was routine. But this time, she had leverage. And they had something to lose. The next morning, the sun cast a golden glow across the skyline as Marissa sipped her coffee by the suite window. She had barely slept. Her mind hadn't stopped racing, not with anger, but with calculation. She didn't come this far to be disrespected at the final step of a billion-dollar agreement. Her phone buzzed. It was Charles Wynn, the lead director of Grand Aurora's board of investors. A man who had courted her for 18 months to get this deal. She let it go to voicemail. 30 seconds later, her assistant Camille texted, Charles just called me. 3 times. Hotel execs are in full panic mode. Then came a knock at the suite door. It wasn't room service. Standing there was a woman in her 50s, poised, elegant, and clearly in command. Monica Bartlett, Chief Operating Officer of Grand Aurora International. Marissa recognized her instantly. They'd shared a panel discussion once at the Forbes Women in Leadership Summit. Ms. Holloway, Monica began, holding a leather folder. May I have a moment? Marissa hesitated, then stepped aside wordlessly. Monica walked in like someone who wasn't used to being ignored. But today, her steps were slower, humbler. I came to apologize on behalf of our entire organization, Monica said, standing tall yet visibly uncomfortable. I reviewed the lobby footage myself. What happened was unacceptable. I am beyond embarrassed. Marissa stayed quiet. We value our relationship with the Holloway Group, and we deeply regret. Marissa raised a hand. Stop. Monica froze. This isn't just about me. This is systemic. And I'm not in the business of ignoring patterns. There was silence. Then Monica said something unexpected. You're right. I know it. I've seen it too. That caught Marissa's attention. I started in this industry 30 years ago, Monica said softly. I know what it's like to be doubted, dismissed, talked over. But I fought my way up. And I've been watching your rise, Miss Holloway. You're changing the game. Marissa eyed her carefully. I came to ask, not for forgiveness, but for a second chance. Let us fix this. Let me fix this. Marissa crossed her arms. You want me to salvage this deal? I want you to hold us accountable. However that looks to you. Monica opened the folder. Inside was a revised partnership proposal. We restructured the profit-sharing clause, raised your stake, and we're prepared to issue a formal apology across all press channels, acknowledging your experience publicly. Marissa looked down at the documents. She admired Monica's courage, but courage wasn't enough. What about Dylan, suspended? Pending investigation. That's not good enough. Monica met her eyes. Then tell me what is. Downstairs, Charles Wynn was being berated by shareholders. News of Marissa's pause had leaked into investor circles, and whispers of a tanking deal were already affecting their morning market indicators. The press hadn't gotten wind yet, but it was only a matter of hours. The board had banked on this partnership. It was their crown jewel of 2025. Losing Marissa would not only be a public relations nightmare, it could lead to divestments, stock dips, and regulatory scrutiny, given the DEI pledges they had made. Marissa knew all of this, and as she sat across from Monica in silence, she realized something vital. This wasn't just about dignity anymore, that IT was about power, and whether she would use it. By the afternoon, the boardroom on the 42nd floor of Grand Aurora's corporate tower was packed, 10 executives around a glass table, all speaking in frantic tones. Charts were projected, phones buzzed endlessly, and coffee remained untouched. At the head of the table, Charles Wynn, red-faced and visibly agitated, slammed a printed copy of the paused contract onto the table. "She didn't just halt the deal," he barked. "She's making us wait. You know what that means in her language? That's power, and she's using it. She has every right to," Monica said, her voice low but firm. She had just returned from the suite and was still processing the quiet intensity in Marissa's gaze. "Don't tell me you're taking her side now," one of the older board members muttered. Monica turned toward him slowly. "I'm on the side of survival, and this company's future depends on how we handle this." A young analyst stepped forward with the latest projections. "Since rumors of the stall leaked to internal investors, our stock dropped 3.2% in 2 hours. If she pulls out publicly, we're looking at a potential 11 to 14% drop overnight." Gasps. Another board member asked, "Is she bluffing?" Monica shook her head. "No, she doesn't bluff. She plans." Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Marissa was on a Zoom call with her core legal team and PR strategist. Her tone was calm but razor-sharp. "I don't want a statement that just acknowledges what happened," she said. "I want accountability. I want their name on it, their CEO, their brand, and I want it timed." "You're playing this brilliantly," her lawyer said with admiration. "But are you sure you don't want to walk away completely?" "I could," Marissa replied. "And they know it." Camille joined the call, whispering updates. "They've scheduled an emergency board press briefing for tomorrow. Also, the CEO, Gordon Reese, is flying back from Dubai tonight. He'll be here in the morning." Marissa nodded. "Good. Let him come." By late evening, Monica returned to Marissa's suite with one final request. A meeting, not in the suite, not in a conference room, but in the original boardroom where the contract was supposed to be signed. "You want a redo?" Marissa asked. "I want it done right," Monica replied. "And I want the right people in the room this time." Marissa considered it, then agreed. The next morning, the Grand Aurora boardroom was transformed in a formal press. No stage signing, just Marissa, Monica, and a few key faces who had stayed silent the first time that Marissa entered the room. The tension was undeniable. Every man and woman there stood, not out of obligation, but out of necessity. Marissa didn't sit at the far end. She sat at the head. The boardroom was silent as Marissa sat at the head of the table, hands clasped, eyes scanning each face in the room. "I assume," she began, "you've all reviewed the updated terms my legal team sent over last night." Murmurs. Nods. No one dared interrupt. "The partnership you wanted," she continued, "was about sustainability and innovation. But I need to be clear. This is now about accountability." She slid a slim folder toward the center of the table. Monica reached for it and opened the cover, revealing a new document titled Equity Clause and Cultural Conduct Framework. "It wasn't in the original deal. This framework is non-negotiable," Marissa said. "It includes a mandatory internal review of hiring and promotion practices, an annual DI audit by a third party, and training for all staff, including executive leadership, on unconscious bias." She paused. "Oh, and Dylan? He's not suspended. He's terminated. Today." A few executives looked stunned. Monica didn't. She nodded firmly. "It's already been handled." "Good." Marissa replied. One of the older men, who had barely spoken during negotiations, finally cleared his throat. "Ms. Holloway, you have to understand, we've never implemented anything like this." "The investors." Marissa raised an eyebrow. You mean the investors who are watching your stock drop because of your failure to act with basic decency? Silence again. Monica leaned forward, calm but assertive. She's right. And if we want this partnership to survive, we need to evolve. That was when the double doors at the far end opened and a man in a crisp gray suit entered, tall, silver-haired, exhausted from travel. Gordon Reese, CEO of Grand Aurora. That he nodded to everyone and walked straight to Marissa. I got the first text while I was in the air, he said quietly. Didn't need to hear the rest. I'm here to listen. Marissa studied him. Are you here to listen or to fix? Gordon hesitated. I want to understand what we missed. What I missed. She pushed a printed image across the table toward him. It was a screenshot of the security footage. Dylan holding her card, laughing. That, she said. That moment cost you $2.8 billion. You tell me what you're willing to do to earn it back. 30 minutes later, the meeting wrapped. The final agreement was signed. This time, with revised terms and bold headlines across every page, in champagne. No cameras. Just a quiet nod of respect from Gordon, a firm handshake from Monica, and an unspoken shift in power that echoed throughout the building. As Marissa left the boardroom, Camille was waiting by the elevator. How'd it go? She asked. Marissa smiled faintly. They blinked. Outside, reporters were beginning to gather. Word had leaked that a new agreement was reached, and whispers of a press statement from Grand Aurora's CEO were already trending on social media. But Marissa didn't stop to speak to the press. She had a car waiting and a flight home. Inside the black SUV, she finally let herself exhale. You handled that like a queen, Camille said from the seat beside her. Marissa shook her head. I handled it like a CEO. She glanced at her phone. A message blinked on screen from a private Slack group of black women executives she belonged to. The message simply read, "We saw it on Twitter. You made us proud." She smiled. By noon the following day, the Grand Aurora Hotel lobby had transformed. Velvet ropes lined the marble floors. A branded podium stood before a curtain of gold and navy, the hotel's signature colors. Cameras flashed. Reporters murmured. Microphones pointed forward like weapons. The room fell quiet as Gordon Reese, CEO of Grand Aurora, stepped to the podium. That he looked solemn. Good afternoon, he began, voice low and measured. Today, I stand before you not to promote a partnership, but to acknowledge a failure. One that began at our front desk and echoed through our boardroom. A wave of murmurs swept the crowd. That he continued. 2 days ago, one of our most prestigious guests, Ms. Marissa Holloway, was subjected to an unacceptable interaction by a member of our staff. This wasn't just about customer service. It was about implicit bias, about the assumptions we make, and about the voices we silence. From the back of the room, Marissa watched in silence. She wore a tailored black suit today, more somber than her navy. No smiles, no visible satisfaction, only focus. I want to personally apologize to Ms. Holloway, Gordon said, glancing toward her. And I want to thank her for choosing not to walk away, because she had every reason to. He held up a leather-bound document. This, he said, is the revised Hollow Aurora partnership. It includes not only the original development deal, but a new internal equity framework, one that will become standard across all Grand Aurora properties globally. Reporters raised their hands in a flurry. Mr. Reese, are you saying the guest is now part of the company's internal policy design? Yes, Gordon answered clearly. Ms. Holloway didn't ask for it. She required it. Another reporter called out. Is the employee who mocked her still with the company? No. He was terminated within 24 hours. Another. Why did it take the CEO's intervention for this to be taken seriously? Gordon hesitated. That's a question we'll be asking ourselves in every executive meeting going forward. He stepped aside. Monica approached the mic next. As a woman in leadership, I have spent years navigating rooms where I was underestimated. But the difference today is that we are no longer willing to stay silent when it happens to someone else. A soft, spontaneous applause rippled through the back rows. And finally, Monica added, I want to say to every young woman of color watching this moment, your presence is powerful. Your dignity is non-negotiable. And your silence is not the price of inclusion. That was when the applause grew louder. Backstage, Marissa remained composed. Camille, standing beside her, leaned in. You want to speak? Marissa shook her head. No, let them do the talking this time. She turned, walked out of the hotel through the staff entrance, and stepped into the sunlight. Outside, a small crowd had formed, some holding phones, others simply watching. A young girl, no older than 10, wearing a Girls Who Lead hoodie, ran up nervously and whispered, Are you the CEO lady?" Marissa bent down, smiled gently. "Yes, I am." The girl beamed. "You look like me," she said. Marissa's smile grew deeper. "And don't you ever let anyone tell you that's not enough." That night, Twitter lit up. Hashtag BlackCardSo, hashtag Holloway Power, hashtag Grander accountability. Clips of Gordon's apology and Monica's speech went viral. But the image that captured the world's attention wasn't from the press conference. It was a photo, taken by someone in the crowd, of Marissa kneeling to speak to the young girl outside the hotel. It was reposted millions of times. With one caption, "This is what power looks like, grace under fire." A week had passed. Marissa sat quietly in her office, high above the city, watching the late afternoon light bend across the glass skyline. The world had moved fast since the Grand Aurora incident, but the impact hadn't faded. She'd received over 400 interview requests. News outlets labeled her the woman who changed corporate hospitality overnight. But she wasn't chasing headlines. She was building something bigger. That morning, she finalized the creation of a new foundation, the Holloway Fund for Equity in Leadership. Its mission: to empower underrepresented talent in executive roles across all industries. She smiled at the name, not because it bore hers, but because it didn't bear anyone else's approval. She didn't need permission anymore, just direction. Camille entered the room with her iPad. "You've got a Zoom at 2 o'clock with the Forbes Initiative. Then NBC at 3:30, if you're still doing that one." Marissa raised an eyebrow. "Still deciding. What's the update on the Grand Aurora implementation?" Camille grinned. "All U.S. properties already adopted the new equity clause. Canada and the UK are starting this week. CEO personally confirmed rollout timeline." Marissa nodded. "Good. Send him the donation receipt." "You're donating?" $2.8 million to his company's staff development program, earmarked for women of color in leadership training. Camille laughed, eyes wide. "That is poetic." Marissa looked back toward the skyline. Power means nothing if it doesn't open doors for someone else. Later that evening, she returned home, kicked off her heels, and settled into the velvet couch with a glass of wine. On the table lay a handwritten letter from Monica. "What you did wasn't just business. It was correction. It was legacy that I hope our daughters walk through the doors you forced open." Marissa folded the letter slowly, tucking it into her journal. The one where she'd written every time she'd been underestimated, dismissed, doubted. Now, she turned the page and wrote something new. "They saw me. They doubted me. They learned. They changed." She closed the book. The next morning, she boarded a flight to Atlanta for the Women in Business Summit. As she walked to her first-class seat, several passengers turned to look, but this time, not with doubt, with recognition, with respect. One older woman across the aisle smiled at her. "You're her, aren't you?" Marissa smiled. "Depends who her is." The woman chuckled. "The one who said no and made the world listen." Marissa settled into her seat, fastened her belt, and leaned back. "No," she whispered. "I'm the one who said yes, to myself." And the plane took off into a rising sun.